Join us as Peter Rosenbluth from the Artisanal Gold Council shares inside perspectives on the groundbreaking National Action Plan or NAP that's charting a new course for small-scale gold mining in the Philippines. This plan will be much more than policies on paper. It's a hands-on collaborative push that brings together miners, indigenous communities, scientists, and government leaders to create a cleaner, safer, and more sustainable mining future. Discover how this roadmap might just be the key to turning the tide on mercury use in mining and setting an example for the world. So welcome to the Philippines, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Tell me, Peter, what is the National Action Plan for ASGM all about?
Well, the National Action Plan is a process that the government of the Philippines and stakeholders involved in small-scale mining in the Philippines will embark on for the next 2 years. And the project is really about building a roadmap for a sector that is mercury reduced or eventually even has mercury eliminated from artisanal and small-scale gold mining here. And so that's the project. It's to work with all the stakeholders within the country to build that roadmap. So what will be the objectives in terms of reducing mercury in the country, and how are we going to get there?
Okay. Now, why is the AGM sector a major focus under the Minamata Convention? As I understand, this whole project is sort of in compliance to the country's commitments to this convention.
That's right. Well, gold mining and specifically small-scale gold mining is so important to the convention because it forms such a huge part of our global emissions. So for instance, in 2005, when the world got together and started looking at, what is the data on mercury pollution worldwide? What do we know about it? What we found out was we knew very little about the sources other than from some industrial sources that track their mercury emissions. And so the global estimates of mercury emissions were quite low in 2005. Between 2005 and 2011, a lot of extra research was put into what is happening with these small-scale mines. We know there's all around the world a lot of mercury being used. And once we started to look into it and actually quantify how much mercury was being used by small-scale miners around the world, our global estimates almost doubled. So what we did realize in very short order was that it's roughly 37% of the global emissions are now coming, of mercury emissions, are coming from ASGM. So that is why it's such an important part of the International Minamata Convention. If globally we want to reduce our emissions and pollution to the environment, then we need to not just understand the ASGM component, but we need to engage with small-scale miners.
Okay, so globally, you mentioned that 37% is coming from the ASGM sector. Do we have data also at the national level for the Philippines? Yeah.
Well, that's one of the big challenges in terms of developing this plan, this roadmap, is that we have to know where we're starting to know where we're going.
Okay.
And this is, I think, the same in a lot of countries. The sector is so informal that there's not a lot of good data on it. That's just the nature of informality. And so one of the first things we'll be doing as part of this project is doing a national baseline to try to estimate, well, not just understand how mercury is used in the sector here in the Philippines and where it's used, but try to estimate how much. And right now, as far as I'm aware, that number doesn't exist. So that's one of the exciting things about this project.
Probably we can look at like how many of the operating small-scale mining in the Philippines are mercury-free. Probably
Yes.
that's one way to look at it, right?
That's exactly right.
So since we cannot capture the totality, it might be good to look at how much percent of this operating small-scale mining operations in the country are actually into mercury-free processing. From what I understand, in the Cordillera, we just have one yet, no? That would be Sagada. So that would, if we extrapolate at the national level, probably it would be a starting point. Like,
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly the kind of thing we intend to do. So just very recently here in Baguio, we've brought a team from the Artisanal Gold Council, and we've been working on different ways to go to mine sites and to do exactly this kind of work. So to try to understand which sites are operating mercury-free already, which sites may be using mercury. And of course, it's sensitive information. So we go about this in a very kind of delicate way. And also, it's not an enforcement kind of activity. It's just an information gathering activity. So that's what we've done, and what we've learned is that so far is that there are lots of miners who are not using mercury in their operations, and there certainly are operations that are as well. So,
Well, the positive thing there is it's good to know that there are actually, apart from the one that I know, there are small scale operators that are not using mercury. That's that's really a positive information. In the preparation of the National Action Plan, I understand that there are multiple agencies that are involved.
yes.
Could you enlighten us on this, on who
Yes.
are actually part of this preparation and their specific roles, if that's possible?
Yeah. So this project, of course, it's financed by the Global Environment Facility
Okay.
and our international implementing partners, the United Nations Environment Program. But within the country, and this is one thing that we've learned from doing national action plans again and again and again, is that the plans are only as good as the input and the buy-in of those who are involved in helping to craft them. So within the country, we're obviously working very closely with Mines and Geosciences Bureau as a key stakeholder. But we've also gone to the effort to establish both a coordination mechanism, which is mostly kind of government and official partners and agencies, but also a stakeholder advisory group, which will be much more broad and include a much broader set of stakeholders to help advise us on this process. And so specifically, we're working with mines, we're working with environment, Ministry of Health, since this is an important health issue, Federation of Indigenous Peoples, because so much of the mining occurs on Indigenous land and miners are Indigenous. We're working with a ministry involved with women's affairs, finance, trade, because mercury trade is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So all of these partners are involved. We're also working with small-scale miner federations. They're always one of the most important stakeholders to involve, both in coordinating these projects, but also providing input to the projects. And then there's also partnerships that we're in the process of developing through this stakeholder group with academic institutions who've done work, with local NGOs who know a lot about the sector and have been working with small-scale miners for a while. So there's really a kind of a big umbrella, and we're trying to make that umbrella as big and inclusive as possible.
Yeah, there's so many institutions involved. But who's orchestrating this? I mean, who's the core agency that would implement the preparation of the National Action Plan?
Yeah, well, our role, the AGC's role, is to facilitate this. This plan is a Filipino plan. It has to be a plan that is patriated by the Philippines and owned by the Philippines. So we're certainly not in that role, but MGB will be playing a leading role, certainly. But really, although they kind of act as a leading agency within the Minamata Convention, the ministries responsible for the environment are always the focal point for these kinds of projects. So they'll kind of play a dual role together, really leading this project.
What about we go back to Artisanal Gold Council. From what I understand, we have an office here also in the Philippines.
That's right.
But I understand it's also international. It's an international agency. So How does the council in the Philippines relate to the overall implementation of the project?
Yeah, well, thank you. So the Artisanal Gold Council is an international NGO. It's the headquarters is based in Canada, but we have offices that you could think of almost as franchises. They share our mission, but they execute that mission in a way that is kind of embedded within the country and the place that they come from. So that is the role of Artisanal Gold Council Philippines. Um, and within this project, they are basically coordinating the entire project. So they are making sure that there are consultation processes with all the stakeholders. They're making sure that we do studies and collect information on the sector where we need that. So we've talked about some of the big gaps, like how much mercury is actually being used. So the Artisanal Gold Council is coordinating that. Importantly, one of the really important things to know about the AGC is that the AGC was founded from a place of serving and working with small-scale miners. So that's always been core to our mission, is that the people we are here to serve are the people who are engaged in this activity worldwide. And so we also bring that kind of approach to the development of the National Action Plan, that at the end of the day, this is a plan for all Filipinos. But we can't forget that it's a plan that mostly invokes and requires the buy-in and participation of small-scale miners.
All right. And from what I understand, you've had already several project activities. I was able to attend the closing celebration of the planetGOLD project. And I was told during that time, after the celebration, that you would have the inception workshop for the NAP. Yeah. So how has it been since that inception activity?
Yeah. Well, it's been busy. We have 2 years. We have 2 years from the inception, from a month before the inception, to complete this project, basically to develop this National Action Plan. So there's not a lot of time to waste. And so, yeah, we had the inception workshop, and hopefully what's come out of that is kind of an agreement that one of the things we need to do is strongly communicate what this National Action Plan is all about. And so thank you very much for helping us in this. You play a very important role actually in the plan.
Very happy to help.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. And we've moved immediately into training a team. Actually, we'll have 3 teams that will be going out into the field all the way from Luzon down to Mindanao and engaging with mine sites, doing interviews, taking measurements, understanding what's going on, but then also doing some research and understanding of the broader sector. So how are communities both affected by, but also supported by mining? How are health clinics affected by mercury exposure? Of course, there's other people involved in this industry, so gold traders and the gold trade. So we've been training some teams to go out and really collect information, do interviews, and really understand the sector so that we can then produce a profile of the sector that will be used for the National Action Plan.
So that's the baseline information you were referring to.
That's the baseline.
So this team, is it also from the institutions that you mentioned that are party to the project, or is it coming from representatives from these involved sectors, institutions?
Yeah. Well, for the work that we're about to do, the baseline work, we've got a team mostly composed of AGC Philippines staff.
Oh, okay.
But one of the important things in doing this work is involving and working collaboratively with not just other agencies, including the regional agencies who often know a lot about what's going on, but other stakeholders as well. So, for instance, we've been involving MGB in kind of understanding this methodology, what we're going to do when we go out into the field. And we've been working with the small scale miners associations here in Baguio as well. So we took them out yesterday on the training and showed them what we were going to be doing And so there are other agencies who are involved in the work. One of the tricky issues with trying to collect good information on the sector, not just in the Philippines but everywhere, is sometimes there can be a mistrust between
Oh, yeah.
miners and some of the regulatory agencies that oversee them. So one of the advantages that the AGC sometimes has is that we come in as kind of a neutral party. In fact, we come in as a party whose mission is to support responsible mining activities, to work with miners. And so that's one of the reasons that this next phase of work involves an AGC team, but in collaboration with other stakeholders. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the mistrust comes from the fact that most of them are not formalized.
Yeah.
So in our lingo, they're colorum, so they're not legitimate. So, and of course, they're worried. I would say that, they might be reported to the regulator. So
Yes.
going back to the project activities, so you've already done two major activities, as I hear, no?
Yeah.
So after this field exposure,
Yeah.
so this training, and you mentioned that this team would be looking into the small scale operations from north to south,
Yes.
from Luzon to Mindanao.
Yes.
How long do you see this happening?
Yeah.
The data gathering phase.
Yeah. Well, again, one thing we've learned from doing this kind of work is that we need to have good data that everybody agrees upon
Yeah.
in order to develop goals and strategies for the country. So it is important to invest in this information gathering stage. That will take, what we're imagining is approximately for the next 5 to 6 months. We'll be in the field, talking to miners, talking to other people involved in the gold supply chain. And then we'll be working on our reports and our conclusions after those 5 or 6 months. And from that point on, we'll be really working to get the message out about what we found. So,
Okay.
ideally, we're partnering very closely with people who can kind of amplify those conclusions. And from there, we move into a stage where we really look at what we've learned about why mercury is being used, what the challenges are to reducing or eradicating it, what the opportunities to improve the sector as a whole are, and we start working with all of the national stakeholders on strategies to do those things.
It's the first quarter of your of your 2-year project, huh?
We're still babies in this project, yeah.
The first quarter, yeah. I can understand, apart from the mistrust or the distrust that can be challenging for the data gathering, is also the weather. For most parts of the Philippines, these months are rainy months, and I think you've seen
Yes.
how it was like yesterday when you brought out the team for their field exposure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were saying that, of course, the miners are very critical in the preparation. So why so? Can you give us? Can you explain this further?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first has to do with the fact that as an informal activity, there's not a lot of information about how small scale mining operations operate, why they choose to process gold the way they do, including sometimes using mercury, often using mercury. What the opportunities and challenges to offer alternatives to mercury use would be. This information doesn't exist because so many miners are working informally. They don't engage with research, information gathering, surveys from different government agencies. So what it takes to understand that is really going out and talking and doing interviews. And one thing that I know is that one mine site is one mine site. And from a mile up, they may look the same, but each one is different. Each one has their own challenges, their own concerns. And so you really do have to kind of understand the breadth of this sector from north to south. So the first kind of answer to your question is miners are critical to actually telling us what is happening in the sector. The second reason it's so important to engage small-scale miners is this is a plan that at the end of the day is going to be asking them to adopt different approaches to their mining, so mercury-free approaches. And with that ask is going to hopefully be offering them incentives, reasons to adopt these other approaches. So if we aren't working with miners to ensure that this kind of trade that is going to be part of the plan, we need you to reduce or eliminate your mercury use, and we understand that in return, you want to be earning as much, you want to have legitimacy, you want this to continue to be an important activity in your community, then we have to be making sure from stage one of this project that they're involved and on board with this activity.
And from what it's just a side story. It was from my experience with planetGOLD, although it was quite a short period. It looks like most of these miners are actually aware, from at least from what we have seen, that of the health effects of mercury, but they use it just anyway because of the challenges that they are confronted with. For them, it's easier to consolidate or to harvest the gold using that. But it looks like, from what I also hear, it's you said it may look the same from the outside, but really they have different reasons for using that.
That's true.
Yeah. So good luck to you on on your baseline data collection. It's quite a challenging terrain out there.
It is, but it's the terrain that miners are working in every day, right?
Yeah.
So our team will be able to handle it. Yeah.
What are the other issues that you have seen, like from earlier on off-cam, we were talking about an earlier project, which is the planetGOLD project.
Right. Yeah.
And from what I understand, there were several lessons learned. I've mentioned this previously to the planetGOLD team, that this project has been, we've seen a lot of positive results from this, which we were saying that I hope you can duplicate it, but the project ends there.
Yes.
It's a pilot thing. But what they told me, a lot of the lessons learned from that experience would be incorporated in the preparation of the National Action Plan.
Yeah.
Can we offhand, what are the best lessons learned, if I may say, that you have seen that would surely be included in the action plan?
Sure. Well, I think we're lucky that we have done that we did that project before working on this plan, because there's so much to learn from that experience. And it will make the strategies in the National Action Plan stronger, I think, if we can really make sure to embed our learning within this National Action Plan. I mean, one of the very important things that we learned, one of the most important things we learned, is to really understand and work with, in close partnership, the communities that that were part of that project. So not coming in with a project idea and saying, this is our project, do you want to partner? But really working with them to find solutions iteratively through the project. So, I mean, to put it another way, partnering with the communities we're working with was one of the key lessons in a real, true, meaningful way. Another lesson was the importance of the interagency collaboration. So there are so many different agencies, both locally with the local governance units, and provincially and nationally, that have an interest and a mandate also to be involved in this. So that was very important. And one of the other, I think, lessons that I think was really key from planetGOLD is the idea of sustainability. So the idea of how do you make sure that that the plans have legs. So, we can develop a national action plan, but what happens when it comes time to roll out the strategies over the next 10 years? And one of the things that was key in planetGOLD was the idea of walking with the communities that we were working with. So really helping them work through the challenges, whether it was learning how to use new technologies, whether it was changing their business structure because the changes that kind of came about with the introduction of new technology required them to be organized in a slightly different way. Or whether it was helping them to access finance, helping them to do things that they hadn't done before. It was very important to not just teach them how to do it, but to actually walk with them throughout the process and be there along with them. So those are key lessons that I think will be very important for the National Action Plan.
I would just like to go back to the local government units
Yeah.
because from what you mentioned earlier, like, the other stakeholders, like the municipal, the provincial government units were likewise involved in planetGOLD. What will be their role now in the preparation of the NAP?
Yeah. Well, a lot like the small scale miners, the local governance units know a lot about where mining is happening in the country. And, they play kind of a key role in connecting the national legal and regulatory framework with the reality of what is happening on the ground. So we see them as kind of a central cog within this project. Now, the local governance units are something that I'm not super familiar with from other countries because this is something a little bit unique to how the Philippines does this. But the team is certainly working to engage them, not just as we go about collecting data over the next 6 months. So, for instance, everywhere we go, every island we visit, the local governance units are going to be one of the first stops we make in terms of helping to direct us within the country. But then also when it comes to at the end of the project, endorsing the plan, saying, so these are the strategies that are proposed. We accept these. We think these will work. We think they'll be effective. We have to engage LGUs in that process of endorsing the plan. Yeah.
There's one other sector that I've seen that really inspired me with planetGOLD, the involvement of the young people in the community. That's why I was actually asking. One of them composed a jingle on small scale mining, which I think it's such a. I think it would be a powerful. They would be used to bring in the message more powerfully than other forms. I think so. How do you foresee their involvement in the NAP preparation?
Yeah. Well, young people are not only the future miners, but they are the people who are going to be living in this world that are going to be dealing with the effects of mercury pollution. So when we're talking about a sustainable plan, these are the people that are kind of critical to carrying the plan forward. And the youth of today are not going to be the youth in 10 years when this plan comes to fruition. We've identified youth as being critical contributors to the plan, women having a very important role to play, Indigenous populations as well. And really developing strategies both to engage them in the development of the plan, but also in carrying the plan forward in order to reduce or eliminate mercury is something we're thinking a lot about. We were inspired by and we're really proud of the work done with youth in the planetGOLD project. And so that's something we're doing a lot of thinking about right now. I also have to say, at least in my household, when I think about who has influence over things that we do in my household, it's my kids who are youth and my wife who bring about changes if they don't like what's happening. If I was burning mercury in my household, because that's how I mined, the people I would listen to would be my children and my wife. So they also play a very important role in communicating the message of the dangers of mercury to their parents who may be involved in mining.
Actually, that also applies in the Philippines.
Yeah.
A lot of the change that can happen in a family or in a household can come from children.
Yes.
Like, in their innocence, and they say something to their parents, and probably they would also educate their parents.
Yes. Yes.
Having a reverse role.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned about the field inventory, which is happening right now.
Yeah.
And and you started in our province here in Benguet, and you mentioned also that you're looking at 2 years to complete the plan. So after the writing part, how do you intend to communicate the results of the preparation?
Yeah.
At some point, you said earlier that it would be like, sharing the information that was gathered probably by mid point of the project,
Yeah.
like after a year. Are we looking at being able to communicate what has been prepared, or the outcome of the project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say probably by early 2026,
Okay.
we'll have some results to share about how much mercury is being used in the sector, how many miners are working in the sector, formally and informally, how many of them are women, how many of them are youth.
Okay.
So this kind of information we will be sharing both through partnerships with media outlets such as yours, but also through the production of fact sheets in local languages, and other kinds of regional workshops and things. And then about 3/4 of the way through the project, so through the next 2 years, we should have an idea and we should have drafted some of the actual policy strategies within the plan. So these are the things that the country is proposing to do to reduce mercury, to support miners in their efforts to reduce mercury. And then a similar kind of process will ensue. So we're hoping that the media will help us to kind of explain what those policy proposals are and the implications and engage with us around that. And we're also going to be producing, materials to outreach to the different mining regions in local languages, and workshops in the regions to help communicate that.
Yeah. Happy to hear that. We've had really positive experience with your earlier project. The resources were open to us, and so we were able to do other stories coming from those resources. Now, going back now to your experience, your global experience in the preparation of national action plans, what lessons have you do you think can be applied in this project in the
Yeah.
Philippines? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most important, I think, is inclusivity. So, really making sure that we clearly understand who has a stake, who has skin in the game when it comes to the sector, and making sure that they are part of the process from start to finish. So that's one of the real lessons internationally. One of the other ones, and I've mentioned it before, is ensuring that the strategies to reduce or eliminate mercury are grounded in local realities. And that is why we're putting such a huge amount of effort into understanding the reality on the ground. If these strategies are not coming from the communities that are engaged in the activity and responding to what they know to be the way they mine and the needs they have, then they won't be effective. One of the other interesting things is some countries adopt this approach where they have a million good ideas and a million good strategies, but zero resources, no funding, no ability to implement that. And so one of the things that we are focusing on here a lot is both developing a plan that actually has the funding of international backers behind it, that has commitments from the different agencies that will be responsible to follow through, but also working to build the capacity, both of our government partners at the national, regional, municipal level, but build the capacity of them to follow through. So for instance, if part of the National Action Plan involves communicating some of the risks involved in using mercury and some of the environmental harms, then one of the strategies we might consider is, for instance, working with media to understand those things very clearly so that they can communicate them. So that's another lesson is the plans have to be realistic, they have to be well-resourced, and the capacity of the partners who are responsible for carrying out the strategies in the plan needs to be there.
Okay. Having said that, okay, the 2 year, let's say, going up to the second year, what are the plans now? Is there a follow-up plan for after the preparation of the NAP?
Yeah, well, we're hoping that once the National Action Plan is completed, that it will have within it recommendations, not just for strategies, but specific actions, specific kinds of projects to demonstrate that miners can mine without mercury, that they can do it and be as profitable, or if not more, than they are now. And that there are options for them to do that by engaging with formality, by engaging with the structures that allow them to receive support, whether it's financial support or training or otherwise. So I'm expecting that after this National Action Plan, there will be other projects, and some of them might be pilot projects like planetGOLD was, proof of concept kind of projects, and other ones might be long-term changes. So for instance, looking at the licensing and application process that small-scale miners have to undertake. So,
Which I understand is very challenging. It remains to be very challenging.
It can be. That's what we are hearing as well. So yes, there will be a number of activities, but those activities will all be defined in the next 2 years.
I think I'm quite positive. I mean, I look forward to the outcome of this project because we have seen very positive results from the pilot project of planetGOLD, and it looks like a lot of, for their own sake, they would really like to ditch Mercury to make Mercury history, as you say it. This is now an add-on because in my previous role, prior to my roles in the sector, I've seen a lot of internationally funded projects, and sometimes the issue, the challenge there is making it sustainable. Like part of the environmental projects that I've been involved with was the regional resources management. So it was very good with the pilot sites, but the challenge there is for our own government to continue or implement the lessons learned from that pilot project. So I don't know if there's going to be a strategy to overcome that in the preparation of the NAP.
Yeah, well, I think you put your finger on a lot of the issues with international funding that is here one day and then gone the next, right?
Yeah. So sometimes it just collapses. Like so many lessons learned from there, but not the community or the government, the national government is unable to support it.
Yeah.
So we just call it died there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why, as I mentioned, the focus on ensuring that all of the strategies also come with an understanding that capacity needs to be built to be able to carry these things through, and that funding needs to be there to support them. That's why those two things are so important. I mean, I think this is a problem that other countries have actually seen in developing their national action plans. It's great to put a plan on paper, and then what is the ability to follow through? But of course, that's something that, again, it's fortunate that we've done the planetGOLD project because now we have some experience from having gone start to finish in that project. And of course, we have AGC Philippines who's still here to understand in the next years, how does that project evolve? What parts of it have been successful for the long term? And to take those kinds of lessons and build them into the National Action Plan. I am so excited to be doing this work in the Philippines because whether you know this or not, the Philippines is recognized worldwide for this visionary small-scale mining act, at least the approach. The original approach, which was let's let's treat these miners as not people on the outside who need to be boxed in or controlled or co-opted, but these are our people. This is part of our culture. The small scale mining is part of who Filipinos are. And this approach of engaging them and really the vision of wanting to bring them in and bring them into formality, provide them with a path. I know there's been lots of challenges with implementing that, but that was such a visionary approach to the sector at a time when other countries were just sending in the police. And so for organizations like the AGC, the Philippines has always been kind of a place that we've always had a special kind of feeling towards a country that wants to embrace this activity, that wants to embrace miners, and and ensure that they and their communities are thriving. So, yeah.
Hearing that from somebody who's had a global experience, that makes me proud of our government. I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All the while, I thought that a lot of countries have this already, the small scale mining.
Well, that approach at that time that the Small Scale Mining Act was passed was almost unique in the world. And now more and more countries are starting to think that way about the sector. So the Philippines, at least, as I said, I know there's been problems implementing it and bringing it to reality, but at least in terms of having that vision at that time, that's something to be proud of. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
So, kayong mga tagapakinig, ano pala tayo, pwede tayong maging modelo, no, sa experience natin sa small scale mining. So again, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your plans and experience with our listeners and viewers.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, really, the honor was mine, and we really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.